رمضان أقبل بعد طول غيابي ففرحت فيه مهنئا أحبابي خير الشهور به النفوس تعلقت واستسلمت للخالق الوهاب.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to Ramadan Recital Reminder 13 of our Ramadan series, which is Syncing with the Quran. So not syncing as in S-I-N-K-I-N-G, but rather syncing S-Y-N-C-I-N-G. Reason being is trying to, make it sound good, and also, a little bit more orientated towards everyday life and syncing, when you've got your phone or your, something that you use portable, and you want to kind of catch up and make sure that what you have on your phone and what you have on a cloud of some sort or some kind of central server, then you sync with it in order to make sure that both have the same information stored on them. Slightly different, even though the kind of concept I'm trying to play with in the same way, which is that the Quran obviously is eternal, it's full of ilm, it's full of knowledge, and sometimes what happens to us is that our phone, our mind gets clogged up with lots of stuff over the year, and the sort of stuff which we don't really need. It's material which is extra, superfluous, and all it does, it clogs our memory. We don't operate very quickly, we operate very slowly. We're distracted with all these apps on us, we're distracted with all these various applications, and as a result we forget the key thing that the phone is for, which is to make phone calls with, and we forget its purpose. It becomes something completely different. So what we do is, with Ramadan, we cleanse ourselves, we delete all these extra apps which are slowing the phone down, we take off apps which aren't really serving any purpose and not allowing us to use the device for what its purpose is, and we end up then with a nice, clean, sorted phone ready for the next year, which we can use properly. So in the same way, that's the kind of figurative understanding of syncing with the Quran. And we're going to start obviously with, or we're going to carry on rather with Surah Yusuf. And obviously Surah Yusuf, as you know, I apologize, I did take well beyond my dedicated 1 hour as I claimed that I would do, but it is a unique surah. Allah SWT himself mentions it as Ahsan al-Qasas, the best of stories, and it's all chronologically there, it's all kind of in one place, which is quite unique, as you know from the last 12 paras that we've studied together, in terms of the Quran being, as terms of a particular story being explained all in one place. Now, we'd followed Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam from the young man who had this dream, this vision as a young boy, and then his persecution by his brothers, and then being abandoned in a well, and his father obviously suffering at that loss, and then potentially going to die, but saved by a traveling party who pulled him out of the well. The boy then is taken, but because he's quite thin and quite doesn't look like he can carry heavy weights or anything of that nature, he's sold for a fairly cheap, low price in the market. He ends up then being bought by somebody quite senior within the government of Egypt, and is left to kind of either eventually become a fully grown slave and a fully grown man, and be able to do the sort of stuff that male slaves did, or a potential to have him adopted as a son. And in this way, Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam ended up in a completely different environment, a completely different place. And from there, we see that things took a turn for the worse, because the lady of the house, and this was the natural gift of beauty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given to Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, in that he was exceptionally handsome, exceptionally beautiful, and as a result his mistress, the lady who was in charge of the house, fell in love with him, and when she fell in love with him, she tried to seduce him, and as a result he was left in a pretty dire situation, because eventually that led to word spreading out within the community. They tried to keep it in-house, they tried to deal with it in-house, but it didn't. These sorts of things very rarely stay in house. They become the gossip of the town. They become the gossip of the city. And it's again the lady folk who started to gossip about her, saying what kind of a woman is she, that she's falling in love with a slave. Obviously the way they perceived a slave would be not necessarily the most handsome or the most capable or the most intelligent. The view was that the fact that he is a slave shows that he's subservient, he's a lesser man. So here is this woman who is married to a free man, and not only is he married to a free man, he's quite an exceptional man in that he's got a position of authority, but this woman has put that all to one side and fallen in love with her slave boy. And obviously the lady wasn't too impressed at what she heard, so she set them up and invited them over, and when they saw what they saw, it was beyond their understanding, and as a result, the same proposition that was put to Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam was put to him again. He wasn't having it, and he knew that sooner or later I'm going to get sort of entrapped and I'm going to be in deep trouble. So he asked for the prison, and the prison is what was given to him. So now he ends up in prison. Look at the life that Yusuf alayhi salatu is leading. Innocent boy, hasn't done anything wrong yet the key message that we're finding in the story of Yusuf alayhi salatu is sabr. Sabr Yaqub alayhi salatu is having to do. Sabr which Yusuf alayhi salatu is having to do. And there will be more sabr which comes after. Because when he has this dream that he interprets, this dream interpretation eventually takes him out of prison. He has the case put in front of the king at the time, because the king wants to know who this person is that has interpreted this dream for him, which could potentially save his kingdom. And he asks for him to come and see him, but Yusuf alayhi salatu refuses, and he says, no, I'm not going to leave the prison. Reason being is that because I am there's a claim that's been made against me, and because this claim has been made against me, I want my innocence to be proven before I leave this prison. So the king reopened his case, even though it was a closed case and it had been dealt with, and he looked into this matter more deeply, and eventually the witness statements came through, and the witness statements proved that Yusuf alayhi salatu was innocent. But Yusuf alayhi salatu said, وَمَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي, and I don't consider myself to be pious, meaning I'm not making a self-proclamation for piety. Inna nafsa, why? Because the nafs, the ego, naturally la'ammaratun, it inclines towards evil. The ego naturally is egotistical. The ego naturally is going to defend you now, and it's going to always try to say that everybody else is wrong but you're correct. This is its nature, and when it's not happy with the situation, it will get angry and throw toys out of its pram and get all upset. Illa ma rahima rabbi, except that soul which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mercy upon. So those individuals who got a soul in which it's tamed and they can control, then that's fine. Otherwise, every soul is inclining an individual towards falsehood. Inna Rabbi Ghafoor Rahim, indeed my Rabb is Ghafoor and he is Rahim. So the king then asked for him, and he said to him that Astakhlishu li nafsi, I want to keep you for myself. فَلَمَّا كَلَّمَهُ قَالَ إِنَّكَ الْيَوْمَ لَدَيْنَا مَكِينٌ أَمِينٌ. So when he spoke to him, he recognized this man was a very intelligent man. How he ended up being a slave and how he ended up going to prison was beyond the king's perception and understanding. But this was a test for Yusuf alayhi salam. Obviously he was an intelligent man. Obviously he was a very careful, deep thinking, reflective man. He was a prophet. He was divinely inspired. He was divinely led. But the king wasn't to know that. So he said, you will stay at my side. Now, Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam saw an opportunity, and Yusuf alayhi salam was an opportunist. We'll see again later on where the two individuals who end up in prison with him ask him for dream interpretation, because his reputation preceded him. Everybody was well aware that there was this man called Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam that could interpret dreams, and he was an honest and a very just man. And sorry, that's already gone. I'm losing track of where I am. Obviously, that's already happened. He's already made his way out of prison. I was just checking if you were following. So yes, he's already made his way out of prison. So he was known for his honesty. He was known for his decency. And he was this opportunist where he took the opportunity which presented itself. And he realized that I now have a possibility to be able to convert en masse all the people that live in Egypt. Reason being is, if I'm in a position of power, if I'm in a position of authority, my influence can be far-reaching than if I wasn't so. So Yusuf alayhi salatu said, Qala, he said, Ij'alni ala khaza'in al-ard, place me upon the treasury of this land, meaning make me the minister of treasury, make me the treasury minister, in fact. Inni, why? Because I possess two qualities. Hafizun alim, I am one who can safeguard and protect things, which is a useful quality to have when you're in charge of money. And likewise, alim, I am knowledgeable. وَكَذَلِكَ مَكَّنَّا لِيُوسُفَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. And in this way we establish Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam upon the land. يَتَبَوَّأُ مِنْهَا حَيْثُ يَشَاءُ نُصِيبُ بِرَحْمَتِنَا مَنْ نَشَاءُ وَلَا نُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ وَلَأَجْرُ الْآخِرَةِ خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. So there we have it. Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, from a young man, a young boy in a well, from there ended up being a slave, from being a slave ended up being in prison, and now where is he? He is now in the ministry of Egypt, and he is not only in any position as any minister, he is actually the financial minister, the treasury minister, whatever you want to call him. And exactly how Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam had prophesied, the 7 good years were followed by 7 lean years. But what they had done was leave the reins of the treasury in the hands of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. So what he had done is that he had maintained and looked after the food to ensure that people weren't spending and eating extravagantly, but were eating just enough to get by, and enough money was being put aside so that that money could be used there. Enough food was being put aside so that that food could then be used in the future when the constraint years, the difficult years would come. But not everybody was planning for that, because they didn't have this prophecy, they didn't have this dream. They didn't have Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. So like in Canaan, where Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam's brothers were, famine took hold, food was gone, people were hungry. Now they heard news that obviously there was this man, Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. Obviously they didn't know who he was at the time, they just knew him to be Al-Aziz, a minister, somebody, a leader who would now actually become king. And they knew him that this man was there, and this man had actually kept lots of food, and he was a very generous man as well. So that if people went, and rather than holding and hoarding food, rather than selling it at a ridiculous price, if people went and paid for it, he would give them food. He would give it, and he would also give sometimes over a sadaqah as well, as charity as well. So the brothers said, look, we're going to have to go get some food. So وَجَاءَ إِخْوَةُ يُوسُفَ فَدَخَلُوا عَلَيْهِ فَعَرَفَهُمْ وَهُمْ لَهُ مُنْكِرُونَ. So when the brothers of Yusuf alayhi salatu came to see him, he recognized them, but they didn't recognize him. They didn't know who he was. And the reason why they didn't recognize him is because he was a very young boy when he was left. And a young boy, obviously at the age of 5, 6, 7 years old, and now he's in his late 20s, if not in his early 30s, there's going to be a huge change. So they're not really going to be able to tell who he is. But he recognized them because they were in their teens and early 20s at that time, and now they were sort of 20 years on in their sort of 30s and 40s and 50s. So he recognized them. So وَلَمَّا جَهَزَهُمْ بِجَهَازِهِمْ. So they came for some food. He sold them the food, and then he said to him, قَالَتُنِي, bring to me بِأَخِي لَكُمْ, another brother you have from your father. Meaning he's not the same. He's not a brother which you share the same mother with, but he is a brother which you share the same father with. Because Binyamin and Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam were brothers that came from the same woman, as in they were the same mother, but they weren't of the same mother as the other 10 brothers. أَلَا تَرَوْنَ أَنِّي أُوفِي الْكَيْلَ وَأَنَا خَيْرُ الْمُنْزِلِينَ. Do you not see that I give full in measure, and that I am the best of those as a host? فَإِن لَمْ تَأْتُونِ بِهِ فَلَا كَيْلَ لَكُمْ. And if you don't bring him the next time, then there will be no measure for you. عِنْدِي وَلَا تَقْرَبُونَ. And neither will I take you into this private counsel, private conversation that I'm having with you. قَالُوا, they said, سَنُرَاوِدُ عَنْهُ أَبَاهُ وَإِنَّا لَفَاعِلُونَ. Soon we will try to get permission for him from our father, and we're going to try every effort to do so. وقال, he then said لفتيانه, to his servants, Yusuf alayhi salatu said, اجعلوا بضاعتهم في رحالهم لعلهم يعرفونها إذا انقلبوا إلى أهلهم لعلهم يرجعون. That what you do is you return their money, you return their wealth, whatever they came to pay for this food, you give it back to them, but they brought certain types of goods as well, so that they recognize, oh, that's our bowl, or that's our plate, or that's our spoons, whatever that we brought. Place it back in their saddlebags so that they recognize it, so when they go back home, in order that they definitely come back, because Yusuf alayhi wanted to push and make every situation as such that they would come back and they would bring his brother. فَلَمَّا رَجَعُوا إِلَىٰ أَبِيهِمْ. So when they returned to their father, قالوا, they said, يَا أَبَانَا مُنِعَ مِنَّا الْكَيْلُ فَأَرْسِلْ مَعَنَا أَخَانَا نَكْتَلْ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. We've been given our measure, but we've been prevented to get an extra share. So if you send with us our brother, then we'll be able to get more, and we will definitely look after him. قال, Yaqub alayhi salatu replied. He goes, Hal amanakum alayhi illa kama amintukum ala akhihi min qabl. Are you going to look after him like the way you looked after his brother before? Like the way you looked after Yusuf alayhi salatu? You made also told me that you're going to look after him. فالله خير حافظا. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who is the best who looks after. وهو أرحم الراحمين. ولما فتحوا متاعهم. So they left the argument. They thought, okay, fair enough, we'll leave it. So as they're unpacking now, they notice that their provisions have been returned back to them, the ones that they were trying to buy the food with. وجدوا بضاعتهم ردت إليهم. قالوا, they said, يا أبانا ما نبغي. He said, look at this, what else can we ask for? هذه بدايتنا. This is our goods also returned. ردت إلينا ونمير أهلنا ونحفظ أخانا ونزداد قيل بعير. And we shall get more food for our families, and we will definitely look after our brother. And we will get increase in an extra camel's load. ذَلِكَ كَيْلٌ يَسِيرٌ. This will be so easy. We're just going to take him, he's going to give him an extra camel load, come back and look how much we'll have extra food. And not only that, we've still got our provisions to be able to go back. And exactly how Yusuf alayhi was hoping would happen has happened. It's enough motivation now to do what he wants them to do. Qala, obviously Yaqub alayhi was not budging. He said, لَنْ أُرْسِلَهُ مَعَكُمْ حَتَّى تُؤْتُونِ مَوْثِقًا مِّنَ اللَّهِ لَتَأْتُنَّنِي بِهِ إِلَّا أَن يُحَاطَ بِكُمْ. That I will never send with you, ever. I will never ever send with you your brother until you make a covenant in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you will bring him back to me, unless you are absolutely powerless, surrounded, attacked, whatever. فَلَمَّا أَتَوْهُ مَوْثِقَهُمْ قَالَ اللَّهُ عَلَى مَا نَقُولُ وَكِيلٌ. And when they had agreed and took this covenant, then Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a witness and a one who looks over what you have said. And then he gives some advice to his sons. He says, وَقَالَ يَا بَنِي, oh my dear sons, لَا تَدْخُلُوا مِنْ بَابٍ وَاحِدٍ. Don't go through one single door, one single gate into the city. وَادْخُلُوا مِنْ أَبْوَابٍ مُتَفَرِّقَةٍ. Go through separate gates, entrances. وَمَا أُغْنِيَ عَنْكُمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. But this did not change the taqdeer in any way, shape or form. إِنَ الْحُكْمُ إِلَّا لِلَّهِ. Because the judgment is not except Allah's. alayhi tawakkaltu, upon him I put my trust, Yaqub alayhi salam is saying. Wa alayhi, and upon him the people who put trust place their trust. وَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا مِنْ حَيْثُ أَمَرَهُمْ أَبُوهُم. So when they entered into the city, exactly how their father described for them, مَا كَانَ يُغْنِي عَنْهُم مِنَ اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. This did not benefit them in any way, shape or form, except حَاجَةً فِي نَفْسِ يَعْقُوبَ قَضَاهَا. This was some desire, some way of protection. As a father, he wanted to protect his children. And other mufassirun have said that what this refers to is that he was not necessarily protecting his children from the evil eye, because that's what Allah is mentioning, that the evil eye is, if it's going to take place, taqdeer is going to take place, but rather because there was a lot of fear and suspicion in the city. And when a large group of men entered with no wives or children or family, then they feared that there could be bandits or robbers and potentially attacking the food that they had in the various warehouses. So as a result, if they all came together, they would be under suspicion, and they may be arrested on sight. So as a result, said, if you go in separately, then you won't draw suspicion towards yourself. Khair, whatever they did, they went ahead and did that. So they went to see Yusuf alayhi salatu again. But this time what Yusuf alayhi salatu did was he took his brother, أَخَاهُ قَالَ إِنِّي أَنَا أَخُوكَ. He put him to one side and said, I'm your brother. فَلَا تَبْتَئِسْ بِمَا كَانَ. So don't worry regarding what they're doing. You're safe now. You're protected now because your brother is here. فَلَمَّا جَهَزَهُمْ بِجَهَازِهِمْ. So again, like before, they gave some of their material, whether it was goods of some sort, in order to purchase the food. So he gave them the food. جَعَلَ السِّقَايَ. But what he did do this time is he placed his specific bowl, the king's bowl, in the saddlebag of his brother. ثُمَّ أَذَّنَ مُؤَذِّنٌ. And then once they set off again, Binyamin with them, then somebody called back and he said, أَيَّتُهَا الْعِيرُ. O caravan, wait. إِنَّكُمْ لَسَارِقُونَ. You are thieves. So obviously they were quite shocked with the brothers. They say, وَأَقْبَلُوا عَلَيْهِمْ. They turned back to them and said, مَاذَا تَفْقِدُونَ. What is it you've lost? Because we haven't stolen. So by implication, we haven't taken anything. What is it you've lost? They said, نَفْقِدُ سُوَاءَ الْمَلِكِ. We've lost the bowl, this particular measuring bowl which the king used to have is gone. وَلِمَنْ جَاءَ بِهِ حِمْلُ بَئِيرٍ وَأَنَا بِهِ زَعِيمٌ. And whomsoever brings it back, then they will get a camel's load of as a gift, as a reward, if it can be, and I'm bound by this if it can be found. So they said, قالوا, they said, Allah, We swear by Allah, لَقَدْ عَلِمْتُ مَا جِئْنَا لِنُفْسِدَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. You know we're not people who cause corruption. We've been here before. Did we do anything then? We're good people, as you know. So we haven't come to cause corruption. وَمَا كُنَّا سَارِقِينَ, and neither are we thieves. قالوا, they said, فَمَا جَزَاؤُهُ إِن كُنْتُمْ كَاذِبِينَ. So what should be the recompense? What should be the punishment if we find out that one of you is lying? قالوا, they said, جَزَاؤُهُ مَنْ وُجِدَ فِي رَحْلِهِ فَهُوَ جَزَاؤُهُ. Simple. The punishment will be that whose ever saddlebag you find the ball in, he is the punishment. Meaning, you will take him. And that was the punishment of the lands of in Canaan. That if a person was found to steal and take somebody's property, then that person became the property of the person he stole from, meaning he became his slave. كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي الظَّالِمِينَ فَبَدَأَ بِأَوْئِيَتِهِمْ قَبْلَ وِعَاءِ أَخِيهِ. So what they did was they started to go through the brothers' saddlebags first, before they went through Yusuf alayhi's brother's saddlebag. ثُمَّ اسْتَخْرَجَهَا مِنْ وِعَاءِ أَخِيهِ, and then they took it out from the saddlebag of his brother. كَذَلِكَ كِدْنَا لِيُوسُف. In this way, Yusuf alayhi had planned in order to ensure that he would or in this way we had planned for Yusuf alayhi that he would take his brother back. مَا كَانَ لِيَأْخُذَ أَخَاهُ فِي دِينِ الْمَلِكِ. He could not have taken his brother back by the law of the land in Egypt, because then for theft was a punishment. It wasn't that that person becomes property. So they had to apply the law of the people of Canaan. إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ نَرْفَعُ دَرَجَاتٍ مَنْ نَشَاءُ. And we raise the ranks of those we wish. وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. And over every person of knowledge is another knowledgeable being, until obviously that knowledgeable being is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قالوا, they said when they saw this with their own eyes, إِن يَسْرِقْ فَقَدْ سَرَقَ أَخٌ. If he stole, then his brother also stole. لَهُ مِنْ قَبْلُ, from before. Obviously referring to Yusuf alayhi salam. Now they don't know, they're actually addressing Yusuf alayhi salam. فَأَسَرَّهَا Yusuf. But Yusuf alayhi salam was going to react at this point, but he subdued his reaction, kept it within himself. وَلَمْ يُبْدِهَا لَهُمْ. And he didn't show that. Can you imagine? He's being accused, an innocent man is being accused of theft now, and he wants to react, he wants to say something, but he realized by saying something, people will become aware that he is Yusuf alayhi salam, and he hadn't finished in what he wanted to do. قَالَ أَنْتُمْ شَرٌّ مَكَانًا. He said to himself that, you are worse positioned than I thought. وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا تَصِفُونَ. And Allah SWT knows best regarding what you assert. قَالُوا, they said, يَا أَيُّهَا الْعَزِيزُ, O dear king, إِنَّ لَهُ أَبًا. So they now turn to begging, and they now turn to his mercy, and hopefully rather than his justice, they were hoping his mercy would override his justice, and as a result they would let his brother go. Instead they said to him rather, إِنَّ لَهُ أَبًا شَيْخًا كَبِيرًا. He has a very old father. فَخُذْ أَحَدَنَا مَكَانُ. So take one of us in his place. إِنَّا نَرَاكَ مِنَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. For indeed we see you as a person from the good. قال, he said, مَعَاذَ اللَّهِ, I seek refuge in Allah أَن نَأْخُذَ إِلَّا مَنْ وَجَدْنَا مَتَاعَنَا عِنْدَهُ. That I take somebody in place of the person that I actually found my bowl with. إِنَّا إِذًا لَظَالِمُونَ. And then I would be from the oppressors. فَلَمَّا اسْتَيْأَسُوا مِنْهُ خَلَصُوا نَجِيًّا. When they realized that they were, there's no way that this king would budge, that he was stuck to what he had decided, they decided to hold a private council amongst themselves. قَالَ كَبِيرُهُمْ. The eldest of them said, أَلَمْ تَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ أَبَاكُمْ قَدْ أَخَذَ عَلَيْكُمْ مَوْثِقًا مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَمِنْ قَبْلُ مَا فَرَّطْتُمْ فِي يُوسُف. The eldest brother said, do you not remember that your father has taken an oath in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and from before you were also negligent when it came to Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam? So this is two now. فَلَنْ أَبْرَحَ الْأَرْضَ حَتَّى يَأْذَنَ لِي أَبِي أَوْ يَحْكُمَ اللَّهُ لِي. And I'm not going to leave this land until either my father gives me permission and says fine, you can return, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides for me. وَهُوَ خَيْرُ الْحَاكِمِينَ. And also is the best of these deciders. إِرْجِعُوا إِلَىٰ أَبِيكُمْ. Go back to your father. فَقُولُوا. And say to him, يَا أَبَانَا, O our dear father, إِنَّ ابْنَكَ سَرَقَ. Your son stole. وَمَا شَهِدْنَا إِلَّا بِمَا عَلِمْنَا وَمَا كُنَّا لِلْغَيْبِ حَافِظِينَ. And we cannot bear witness except for what we know. And we have no knowledge of the unseen. Meaning we saw that with our own eyes. We saw the ball come out of his saddlebag, and that's all we saw. We don't know who put it there, because we have no knowledge of the unseen. But we do know it came out of his saddlebag. وَاسْأَلِ الْقَرْيَةَ الَّتِي كُنَّا فِيهَا. And ask the people of the village that we were in if you're doubting our honesty, because we know you are going to. وَالْعِيرَ الَّتِي أَقْبَلْنَا فِيهَا. And also the caravan which was preceding us, they will also tell you that this happened. in the city. وَإِنَّا لَصَادِقُونَ, indeed we are truthful. However, Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam had been told lies before, and he was very suspicious of his sons again. قال, he said, بَلْ سَوَّلَتْ أَلَّكُمْ أَنفُسُكُمْ أَمْرًا, rather your nafs, your egos have beguiled you and fooled you into thinking what you're doing is good when it's wrong. فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ, patience is best for me. عَسَى اللَّهُ أَن يَأْتِيَنِي بِهِمْ جَمِيعًا, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will return them all to me. إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْعَلِيمُ الْحَكِيمُ. So وَتَوَلَّى, he turned away from them. He did not grieve in front of them. He did not cry in front of them. He did not wail in front of them. He did not moan in front of them. He did not complain in front of them. And this is what Muslims should be like, is we don't open our hearts to other people. We don't wail to other people. We don't complain to other people. We don't moan about our lives to other people. This is not the way of a Muslim. We don't despair. These are not attributes that a Muslim is supposed to possess. We're supposed to, look at the harshest of situations that Yaqub alayhi salam is in. Yet, he said, he bears patiently, and what does he do? He turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, waqala, and then he says, Ya asafa, oh alas, for Yusuf alayhi salam, my grief that I have over Yusuf alayhi salam. وَبْيَدَّتْ أَيْنَاهُ, his eyes had become white, min al-huzn, due to grief, فَهُوَ كَذِيمٌ, and he was suppressing this grief and, this gham that he was going through. قالوا, they said, تَاللَّهِ تَفْتَأُ تَذْكُرُ يُوسُف, oh, by Allah, you will never stop mentioning Yusuf alayhi salam, حَتَّى تَكُونَ حَرَضًا, until you become so weak because of it. Or تَكُونَ مِنَ الْحَالِكِينَ, or never mind become weak, you actually die because of it. قال, Yaqub alayhi salam turned to his sons and says, إِنَّمَا أَشْكُو بَثِّي وَحُزْنِي إِلَى اللَّهِ, I am complaining with my grief and my sorrow to Allah. I'm not complaining to any human. وَعَلَمُوا مِنَ اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ, and I know from Allah that which you do not know. And this jais to raise and allow your grief to flow and cry to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that He gives you mercy, He gives you things. This is because who else are you supposed to turn to apart from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Ya baniya, O my children, idhabu, go back, fatahassasu, and inquire regarding Yusuf alayhi salam and his brother. So clearly some revelation has come to Yaqub alayhi salam to make him think that Yusuf alayhi salam is with his brother. They know that his brother is in Misr. They know Yusuf alayhi salam brother is in Misr, but they didn't know Yusuf alayhi salam was in Misr. But this gives an indication that is the case. وَلَا تَعْسُوا مِنْ رُوحِ اللَّهِ, and don't lose hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because إِنَّهُ لَا يَيْأَسُ مِنْ رُوحِ اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْقَوْمُ الْكَافِرِينَ, because no one loses hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala apart from those who deny His existence. Because why would they have hope in Allah when they don't believe He even exists? So it's understandable why they despair. It's understandable why they don't have hope in Allah, because they don't believe He exists. But for Muslims who believe He exists, how can they despair? How can they give up? فَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا عَلَيْهِ قَالُوا يَا أَيُّهَا الْعَزِيزُ, so when they went to see him, they said, "Oh Aziz," yani referring to Yusuf alayhi salam, مَسَّنَا وَأَهْلَنَا ضُرٌّ, harm has afflicted us and our family members. وَجِئْنَا بِبِضَاعَةٍ مُزَاجَةٍ, and we brought some poor quality product this time round. فَأَوْفِ لَنَا الْكَيْلَ, give to us in full. وَتَصَدَّقْ عَلَيْنَا, and also give us extra in charity, because we haven't brought enough. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَجْزِي الْمُتَصَدِّقِينَ, because indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rewards those who give charity. قَالَ, and then this is the response which they didn't expect. This question they did not expect. They're expecting the king to show some mercy, وغيرها. Instead, this is what Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam said. He said, هَلْ أَلِمْتُمْ مَا فَعَلْتُمْ بِيُوسُفَ وَأَخِيهِ إِذْ أَنْتُمْ جَاهِلُونَ, do you know what you did with Yusuf and his brother when before you were unaware? Hold on a second here. How does he know that we have a brother called Yusuf? How does he know that we had thrown him in the bottom of a well? How did he know that we had enmity towards his other brother Binyamin? How did he know this? Hold on a second here. قالوا, they said, أَإِنَّكَ لَأَنْتَ Yusuf, are you Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam? قال أنا Yusuf, he said, yes, I am Yusuf, وهذا أخي, and this is my brother. And he called his brother out. قَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا, indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has favored us. إِنَّهُ مَنْ يَتَّقِ وَيَصْبِرْ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ, indeed those individuals of taqwa from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that remain patient, then indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not lay waste the reward of those who do good. قالوا, they said, Allah, we swear by Allah, لَقَدْ, without any shadow of doubt. So there's so much emphasis here. Tallah, swearing in Allah. La, for emphasis. Qad, for emphasis. آثَرَكَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has preferred you over us. وَإِن كُنَّا لَخَاطِئِينَ, and we were wrong. So when you had that vision, when you had that dream, when you saw the sun and the moon and the stars prostrating, that showed your excellence and your greatness. Instead of acknowledging that, instead of accepting that, our egos came in, our arrogance came in, our jealousy came in, our stubbornness came in. And instead we went worse. And we tried to kill you, we tried to remove you, thinking by removing you would solve the problem. Thinking that by removing you would solve the problem, that we would then be better than you, we would be superior to you, we would have the love of our Father, because you would be out of the way. But what they had become were instrumental in allowing Yusuf والسلام, to move to Misr. Otherwise, had they not left him in the bottom of a well, he would never have reached Egypt. And had he not reached Egypt, he would not have been in the house. And if he had not been in the house, he would have not ended up in prison. And if he had not ended up in prison, he would have never met the two men in prison. And if he never met the two men in prison, he would never have interpreted one of the men's dreams. And if he had not interpreted one of the men's dreams, he would not have then gone out and sat in the king's council and heard the king mentioning the dream. Which then meant he came back to Yusuf alayhi told him what the dream was. Yusuf alayhi explained it to him. His innocence was proven. He ended up being the minister until he eventually became king. But had the brothers not, so instead their jealousy, their hatred, their anger, they thought they were solving their problem. But what they were doing was sort of laying down the ground for Yusuf alayhi to leave his hometown, because he had never been the king of Misr if he was still in his hometown, to eventually become the king of Egypt. And yet, if we look at this in our short-sighted way, if we look at this with our blinkered, narrow vision, then we say, oh, you know, life's like this, look what's going on, oh, negative, 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 negative. But what we don't realize is the path we're taking is we're going to end up with success. It's just remaining patient. Is trusting Allah and remaining patient, trusting Allah. He knows best, He knows best, trusting Allah, remaining patient, trusting Allah. You see that throughout the 13 paras. Trusting Allah, remaining patient, trusting Allah, following His plan, accepting His plan. Which is what Yaqub alayhi did. Yes, he grieved because he missed his son. That's natural, that's human nature. Yes, Yusuf alayhi grieved because he missed his father. That's natural, that's human nature. But they did not grieve because they were not rida bil qadr, content with Allah's decree. That's not why they grieved. They grieved naturally as humans, with hearts and love and affection for one another. That's natural. But they did not grieve or were upset because of the taqdeer of Allah. They accepted the taqdeer of Allah. And let's see what happens next. Did Yusuf alayhi now, when the shoe is on the other foot, say, okay, let me now deal with you appropriately after what you've done to me? I did 7 years in jail. I've been accused of rape. I've spent days in a well, starving. I've been sold like a slave, like a piece of material. I haven't seen my father in years. I haven't seen my brothers grow up. I've missed my childhood. I've missed everything. You've taken something away from me that can never be replaced. Did he say that? Was he vengeful? Or did he want to take his revenge now? Could he not just use this opportunity to belittle his brothers? No. He says, قَالَ, he says, لَا تَثْرِيبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْيَوْمِ. There will be no reproach or telling you off today. يَغْفِرُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. And not only that, may Allah forgive you for what you've done. وَهُوَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. اذْهَبُوا بِقَمِيصِي. Now go back with my shirt, and this shirt has done plenty. Go back with my shirt. The shirt was involved to prove his innocence when the lady, the mistress of the house, had pulled it from the back. This shirt was the one which had proved, or was attempted to prove that, not the very same shirt, but the shirt was used to prove that he had died. So the shirt plays this, the concept of a shirt, piece of material, this clothing, repeats itself. Here again, take my shirt, هذا فألقوه على وجه أبيه, and place it over the face of my father, يأتي بصيرا, and he'll be able to see again. وَأْتُونِي بِأَهْلِكُمْ, and bring your families. Obviously the brothers were married and they had children, and some of them would have had grandchildren. Bring them, أجمعين, all of them. وَلَمَّا فَصَلَتِ الْعِيرُ قَالَ أَبُوهُمْ إِنِّي لَأَجِدُ رِيحَ يُوسُفَ لَوْلَا أَن تُفَنِّدُونَ. And when the caravan departed from Egypt, their father said, oh, I can smell Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, but I fear that if I was to make this statement, you're just going to think I've become senile now. I'm hallucinating. Never mind hallucinating, I'm hallucinating smells. قالوا, they said, تالله إنك لفي ضلالك القديم. Oh, you're still in your old ways, that you're sort of crying over Yusuf alayhi salam, thinking he's still alive when he's not alive. He died many years ago, and even if he survived, he would have died in the well. فلما أن جاء البشير ألقاه على وجهه فارتد بصيرا. So when the glad tide had come, he placed his qamis over his face, and his sight came back. قال ألم أقل لكم, did I not say to you, إني أعلم من الله, that I know, Yaqub alayhi salam is saying this, that I knew from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ما لا تعلمون, what you do not know. Obviously Yaqub alayhi salam is a prophet. قالوا, they said, Ya Abana, they realized as well. Ya Abana astaghfir lana, O our father, seek forgiveness for us, for our sins. Inna kunna khati'in, for we have made a serious error. Qala sawfat astaghfiru lakum rabbi, soon I will ask repentance from my Rabb, meaning soon he was waiting for Sahri time. إنه هو الغفور الرحيم فلما دخلوا على يوسف آوى إليه أبويه وقال ادخلوا مصر إن شاء الله آمنين. So when they entered upon Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, he took them, his parents, and he said, enter into this city, go wherever you like, go into this area wherever you like, safely, nothing to worry about. وَرَفَعَ أَبَوَيْهِ, and he raised his parents upon a throne. وَخَرُّوا لَهُ سُجَّدًا, and they all felt in prostration to him. Not a prostration of worship, but a prostration of veneration, showing honor. وَقَالَ, and he said, Ya abate, O my dear father, هَذَا تَعْوِيلُ رُؤْيَايَ مِنْ قَبْلِ, this is the interpretation of the dream that I had from all those years ago. Remember when I was a young boy, and I said that I see a dream, and in my dream I saw the sun, the moon, and the 10 stars prostrating to me, the 11 stars rather, prostrating to me. That meant the sun, my father, the moon, my mother, the 11 stars, my brothers, they will all prostrate for me. And that's exactly what happened. But how long did he have to wait for this vision to become a reality? 40, 50 years. A lifetime. And a lifetime of difficulty and constraints. قد جعلها ربي حقا, my Rabb has made it become true. وقد أحسن بي إذ أخرجني من السجن وجاء بكم من البدو من بعد أن نزغ الشيطان بيني وبين إخوتي. And indeed, he's been very good to me when he took me out from the prison and allowed me to bring you from the Bedouin life that you led to now living a life in the city. And after the Shaitan had sown enmity between me and between my brothers, so he didn't even blame anybody. He blamed Shaitan. Because Shaitan is the one we should blame. People don't do anything wrong to us. It's Shaitan who whispers to them and they do wrong. So Shaitan is our enemy, and he's the one we have to be wary of. Inna Rabbi latiful lima yasha, innahu wal alimul hakim. And then he made a dua. He said, Rabbi qad ataytani min al-mulk وَعَلَّمْتَنِي مِنْ تَأْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ. You give me the benefit of both worlds. You give me kingdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you give me the ability to interpret dreams. فَاطِرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. You are the initiator of the heavens and the earth. أَنْتَ وَلِي فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. You are my guardian and my protector in the world and in the hereafter. تَوَفَّنِي. Give me death as a Muslim. وَالْحِقْنِي بِالصَّالِحِينَ. And join me with the pious. ذَلِكَ. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turns to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because all this story of Yusuf alayhi salam, the whole surah of Surah Yusuf was based upon a request that was made to him all the way back there at the beginning, when a number of Jewish chaps had asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam regarding Yusuf alayhi salam, that if he lived in a particular place, how did he end up in Misr? And this was explained in great detail to them. And then Allah SWT says, ذَلِكَ مِنْ أَنْبَاءِ الْغَيْبِ نُوحِي إِلَيْكَ. This is from news of the unseen. You weren't there, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nobody has told you about it. So this has been revelation to you. وَمَا كُنْتَ لَدَيْهِمْ. You weren't at the side of them. إِذْ أَجْمَعُوا أَمْرَهُمْ. When they gathered together their matter, وَهُمْ يَمْكُرُونَ, and they were planning and plotting. وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ. And neither will the majority of people believe, وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ, even if you were to حَرَصْتَ, even if you were to desire it eagerly. بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. وَمَا تَسْأَلُهُمْ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ أَجْرٍ. And you do not ask for any wage from them. إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. This is not but a remembrance for all the worlds. So that sort of brings to the close the story of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, and close to bringing close to the surah itself. And got about 20 minutes or so before the time finishes, and I'm not even nowhere near halfway. So you know what's going to happen next, don't you? So next is Surah Al-Ra'd, which is a surah of thunder. So let me pick certain ayats which I can sort of share something with you, so that at least you get to hear some other parts of this particular para. Well, I need to mention this because it's Surah Ra'd, meaning thunder. He is that being yurikumul barqa, who shows you barqa, lightning. Why? Khawfan, as to frighten you. Wa tama'an, and to give you hope. وَيُنْشِئُ السَّحَابَ الثِّقَالِ, and he brings about heavy clouds. وَيُسَبِّحُ الرَّعْدِ, and the thunder glorifies Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bihamdihi, because of his praise, and the angels min khifatihi. وَيُرْسِلُ السَّوَائِقَ, and he sends the thunderclaps. فَيُصِيبُ بِهَا مَنْ يَشَاءُ, and he affects whoever he wills. وَهُمْ يُجَادِلُونَ فِي اللَّهِ, and they argue with respect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَهُوَ شَدِيدُ الْمِحَالِ, and that's the worst of punishments. So you can see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using this to bring clouds, but it also can be to frighten people, to show Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's power, that I am all powerful. والذين صبروا ابتغاء وجه ربهم وأقاموا الصلاة وأنفقوا مما رزقناهم سرا وعلانية ويدرؤون بالحسنة السيئة أولئك لهم عقبى الدار جنات عدن يدخلونها ومن صلح من آبائهم وأزواجهم وذرياتهم والملائكة يدخلون عليهم من كل باب. And as for those individuals who seek patience, again I've been repeating this, seek patience in the seek, and as for those who are patient, seeking the countenance of their Rabb, and they establish salah, and they spend from that which we have given them, both secretly and openly, وَيَدْرَؤُونَ, and they repel bad, sayyah, with good, they are those who will have the best, the end abode, a garden of Eden. Only they will enter it, and whomsoever is good also will enter it from their fathers and their wives and their children, and the angels will enter with them from every door. So this is again mentioning patience. But the key point that I want to raise with this particular verse is they repel evil with good. We have a habit, you see, when we sit down and talk and we say, oh, there's so much evil in the world. People are so evil. But what we fail to realize is why is there so much evil in the world is because we continue to perpetuate evil. We don't repel evil with good. We repel evil with evil. Somebody does something wrong to us, we do something wrong back. We might do it to that person or we might do it to somebody else. So somebody annoys us, somebody gets us angry because of whatever's going on. So we're all bottled up with this anger, might be a little bit scared to unleash it on this particular person, might be a bit scary this person, so we take this anger and lay it out onto somebody that we can do it to. So we can do it to our children, what they're going to say, we can do it to our wives, or we can do it to somebody else, and then we release that anger on that person, and that poor person gets anger, but they can't release it back to their husband or father, so they've got all this anger bottled up, so they find somebody else, maybe a younger sibling, and unleash it onto them. So evil is being perpetuated, evil is being passed on. So if you don't like evil, simple, you stop it. If every time evil came to you and you stopped it, then evil would stop. It's a chain reaction. A does evil to B does evil to C does evil to D does evil to E does evil to F does good to G. Guess what happened? Evil stopped. That chain broke. A does evil to B does evil to C does evil to D does good to E. Evil stops. A does evil to B does evil to C does good to D. Evil stops. So you can be the stopper of evil. Yeah? You can stop evil. Because when it comes to you, instead of you perpetuating it further, you stop it and do good. Let me give you a scenario. A figurative scenario. A person driving along. Quite a long queue, driving along, yeah? Inching away. Annoying, isn't it? Inching away. There's somebody coming out of a side street onto this main road that you're on. And you notice him. And you think, you know what? I'm not going to let this guy in. So you get your car so close to the car in front of you that not even a mosquito could come in between your car and the other car. And as you're driving past, you even look at him as well, like, with that evil laugh. And the reason why you're doing that is because you're annoyed. Why are you annoyed? Because you're in this massive queue, for crying out loud. You want to go home. Your nerves want you to go home. Why? So you can do what you want to do. You don't want to be dictated to go in this queue. You want to go at your own speed. You want to go at your own time. Why are you being told that you have to stay in this queue? I don't have to follow rules. Why can't I just go around here? And then you think, look at this person. I'm going to make him pay for the fact that I'm in this queue, so I'm not going to let him in. So what happens is this poor guy then is waiting. He eventually gets angry after a bit, so then he just pulls it out. So then now he's in this long queue of cars. And another side street further up, and there's another car. So but yeah, I'm going to take revenge here. I took 3 days, slight exaggeration, in order to get into this queue. You're also not going to get into this queue. So that's repelling evil with evil. That's repelling evil with evil. Now let's change the scenario. Imagine repelling evil with good. Okay? So again, let's go back to that scenario. Guy's in his car, okay? You know, inching away, mosquito gap between his bumper and the car in front. Somebody's wanting to come out. Oh, I'm going to let you out. Going past him. Evil laugh. Eventually this chap gets out. Now he's going along. He also sees somebody coming out of a side street. So what he does is he waits. Yes, he's been hard done by. Took him ages to get out that side street. But he's not going to repel evil with evil. He's going to repel evil with good. So he lets this person come out. Now this person's come out and says, thank you very much. So he says, don't worry about it. A couple of flashes on the light. Bit of hazards, you know, the way we communicate in cars. Maybe put some wipers on. Oh, I don't think you put wipers on, do you? No. So once he's let him out, now this person's quite cheery. No, thanks, that guy let me in. Alhamdulillah. Now he's driving along and now he sees somebody wanting to come out. Guess what he's going to do? He's going to let this guy out. So what you did, or the person before, is he broke the chain of evil by doing a good deed. So now this good deed. That's how we do it. Good people, Muslims, they break the chain of evil. They repel evil with good. If we complain about the world being evil, guess what? We are part of that. We are the ones who are further perpetuating evil. So we can complain as much as we like. We say, oh, people throw mud around, when we're throwing mud ourselves. When we look at our hands, there's mud on our hands. Well, you stop throwing mud around. Yeah, will that stop other people throwing mud around? No, it won't, but it'll stop other people after you stopping throwing mud around. That's the point, isn't it? You want to stop this evil carrying on. So it's important. It's such a, as I said, if we really spend time on each ayat like this, we could be talking for hours, but clearly we don't have that time. And it's a shame, isn't it, that we have this mushaf and we have this Quran available on our shelves all around us, and sadly we don't see it for a whole year. And even when we do see it in the beginning of Ramadan, we make big plans, don't we? I'm going to finish 3 khatams and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, whatever. And then day 3, you passed out and you're just still on Surah Baqarah or something. And then you think, okay, khair, I don't think I'm going to do this, forget 3 khatams, I'm going to stick to one, stick to one, ayat sunnah. So then you're going to stick to one, and then even that, by day 25, you're on still on Surah Baqarah, 3 ayats ahead though. And now you're sort of thinking, well, it's the intention, is it, bro, you know what I mean, it's not necessarily to finish the whole khatam and that, what am I do, who am I proving myself to? It's to me anyway, and Allah is mercifully will give. So you just finish about 5 ayats of Surah Baqarah and then close it, put it back on the shelf till next year. When really this month is to spend the time, take some time off work, for crying out loud. We take time off work to go on holiday, to relax. Why not take time off work to at least prepare ourselves for the next life? We've got plenty of time after coming from work or school. School finishes at 3, half 3, whatever it is. School work finishes at 5. Try to finish work early. You don't need a lunch break. So what do I need a lunch break for? I'll have a lunch thing, or not even a lunch, rather. I'll have a break, 10-15 minute break. That's enough for me. Come back home, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, get in nice and early. Chaps, go off to the masjid. Spend the whole night in the masjid. Go over the work, or at least 2-3 hours. Go over your mushaf. Come back, help the wife a little bit. Why is, what, I'm really bad, when it comes to Ramadan. Just the smell kills me. And then he sticks the poor wife for 9 hours in the kitchen. Where she's actually cutting the fruit and, making and everything. And he says, the smell kills me. I'll tell you, I pass out when I walk in and I smell the salan and that. Help the poor woman, she's going to be in there and she doesn't need to be in there for several hours. And that's again, the lady needs to put her foot down and say, well, hold on a second, I do this for 11 months in the year, mashallah, I'm cooking all day long. What I want to do now is I want to sit down and at least dedicate some of my time productively, because death is going to come sooner or later, and if it's not this Ramadan, I might not make it to the next Ramadan, and use this time productively. But anyway, I digress as usual, and that's probably the reason why we don't get to finish much. But I hope these are little beneficial pointers that come, because it's good to kind of sometimes just have a little think and sort of take a step away and reflect over it. Well, let's not do too much of that, because we are now coming to the end of Surah Ra'd, and we still got very much a significant part of this para left before we finish. So, the next surah is Surah Ibrahim. Obviously, Ibrahim, we all know, the Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all take their lead from Ibrahim. But the thing is, obviously, Ibrahim ﷺ came before Jesus. So if Christianity was brought about by Jesus, then why is Abraham selected as a leader of Christianity when Christianity came with Jesus Christ? So that's a kind of a conundrum. And similarly, Judaism is based upon Moses. So again, Abraham came before Moses. So again, another little conundrum. Whereas Muslims say, well, look, Islam, the Sharia, the final version, yes, that came with the Prophet ﷺ. Yes, the Quran was brought with the Prophet ﷺ, but Islam wasn't brought with the Prophet ﷺ as a concept. Islam as a concept has existed since the time of Adam ﷺ. Islam means to submit one's will. That's what it means, to submit one's will to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what it means. And an example is right now in Ramadan. Your body is yearning and craving for food. Your will tells you eat. Your will tells you go drink. That's what your will is. Your nafs is screaming at you. Go eat, man. Go drink, man. What are you doing? No one's going to find out. What are you scared of? Do it when nobody's around you. Just do it, do it, do it. And you're fighting that. You're fighting your ego. Shut up. Don't be so daft. What he's telling you is relatively good. He is to eat because you're going to survive. You're going to live. You're saying, no, shut up. Be quiet. Sit down. I feed you all year. I give you all sorts of food. And trust me, I've got like a 9-course meal coming when I break fast, which is ridiculous, isn't it? I was just at the supermarket, the grocery shop. And I said, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Because what they were doing is they were building an extra cashier. This was before Ramadan. They were building an extra cashier. So I asked, I said, business looking good, mashallah? And said, oh, no, it's because Ramadan's coming. So I thought, isn't it ironic that the month where you're supposed to be refraining from food, the month in which you're supposed to be refraining from drink, the month in which you're supposed to be refraining from allowing the ego to be free, the way you're supposed to restrain the ego, catch him in your shackles, imprison him, and throw bits of bone at him, and throw bits, place him in rags, don't wash him, don't do anything to him, just give him bones to eat. It's now to really bringing this ego right down, bring him down, forget down a few rungs, just throw him off the ladder. And that's what you're trying to do to him. And instead, we're buying more food in Ramadan than we buy outside of Ramadan. And yet we only eat once. But ask our bins how much food goes in the waste, and check how much food goes. Shouldn't it really be that if we're now eating 1 meal a day, and okay, arguably some might say 2 meals a day because we have Sahari as well, but for those of us who are fasting before, stop eating before 1:30, then really, you're not talking much time between 10 o'clock-ish till 1:30. There's 3 hours or something. So I struggle to have 2 meals on a normal day like that. So how are you going to have 2 meals when you're fasting? It's even more difficult. But khair is to eat that food, and once the person, and then so our bin bags should have relatively, maybe 1 bin bag should be full, or 1 bin rather should be full by the end of the week. But you'll find there's more food waste than you can imagine. It's ridiculous. Just really contemplate how much food is. And it's a battle, and of course it's a battle, but none of us have died in Ramadan. Has anybody died in Ramadan? Have you heard anybody who's died in Ramadan? It doesn't happen. Okay, have you heard anybody who loses weight in Ramadan? It doesn't happen. Okay, we don't lose weight. We compensate for it because, what we tell ourselves, oh, you deserve it. You deserve it because you've done really well. Have you? What have you done? You've not eaten for several hours, so your ego you've restrained. You've not managed your ego. All you've told your ego is, please, just wait. Please, I'll give you extra. I'll give you more. Please. And then as soon as it comes to breaking time, then it's all going in. And then we can't. Then you have to roll us off the dastakhan because we can't move after that. It's sad to see, but joking aside, we need to do something about that. We need to look at that and seriously see that we have a flawed understanding of Ramadan. Khair. Today I'm really into a discussing kind of mood with you, mashallah. Anyway, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Surah Ibrahim. Ibrahim is what we were referring to, the Surah of Ibrahim. Kitabun anzalnahu ilayka litukhrija an-nasa min az-zulumati ila an-nur. That this is a book that we revealed to you in order to take the people out from the darknesses in the plural sense, because there are many wrong ways, ila an-nur, towards the only one way which is correct, which is Islam. Bi-idhni rabbihim ila siratil aziz al-hamid. By the permission of their Rabb, towards the as the sound, praiseworthy path. الذي له الحميد الله الذي له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وويل للكافرين من عذاب شديد. So what I'll do now is obviously pick up a certain ayahs, because I know the hour is almost imminent, and about the why is it that the kuffar in this particular ayah is speaking harshly about. He says the reason being, he says الذين يستحبون الحياة الدنيا. Why? Because they love the life of the world more than they love the hereafter. And that's what we've got to be looking at ourselves, is which one do we love more? يَصُدُّونَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَيَبْغُونَهَا إِوَجَادًا. And they stop other people from following the path of Allah. Khair, if you got niche, you don't want it, fine, stick to yourself and get on with it. But then they have to pick holes in everybody else's. And we see this a lot in this so-called new atheism or aggressive atheism, where now religion is attacked, and you see these, ex-Muslims and ex-this and ex-that and the other, whatever, and they're attacking religion in their ways, become very aggressive in their approach. So it's one thing that you don't agree, fine, but then there's no point in ridiculing those who choose to follow a religion. وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا مُوسَى بِآيَاتِنَا أَنْ أَخْرِجْ قَوْمَكَ مِنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ. And we sent Musa ﷺ with signs and miracles in order to take out his people, in order to take out your people, rather, قَوْمَكَ, from the darknesses towards the light. وَذَكِّرْهُمْ بِأَيَّامِ اللَّهِ. And remind them of the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inna fi dhalika la ayah. Indeed, in this are signs, likullin, for every sabari shakur, for every patient, grateful person. Now, how can a person be patient and grateful? What it means is your reaction is either patience or gratefulness, depending on the circumstances of what's going on. So if what's going on is good, you're happy, things are on the up, things are happening, everything is great, you say alhamdulillah, shukranillah. I'm grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alhamdulillah, fantastic, I'm really happy, this is working out for me, that's working out for me, this is going right, health is good, wealth is good, house is running fine, kids are doing all right, this is doing all right, work's doing all right, not got any financial problems, house is running okay, car's running okay, top of the world, can't really ask for more. Allah, I'm grateful to you, you're too merciful to me, you're too kind to me, you give me so much, I can't repay back any that you're giving me, I can't even praise you as much as you should be praised. You should praise yourself, because I'm insufficient, my tongue is incapable of praising you. I don't even know why I'm even talking about you, because my tongue doesn't even deserve to speak of you, of your magnanimous, I can't even speak English. Your greatness is beyond all imagination. Allahu Akbar. All I can do, Allah, is pray, is do your dhikr, remember you, give charity, do all the things which please you, because you have pleased me beyond my wildest imaginations. But then there's a flip side. That's the flip side, because Allah SWT tests by giving, and then Allah SWT tests by taking. So how do we respond in that case? We still say Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah doesn't change. But the difference is, obviously, it's more sedated now. We're a little bit sad now, okay? Because we were more elated then, weren't we? Yes, everything's working out fine, whatever. It's easy to be, generous. It's easy to be joyful. It's easy to give. It's easy to pray. It's easy to do all these things when things are on the up. Not all the time, but it's easy to do. When things are pressing, it becomes a little bit more challenging. If we have bad thoughts, we can then start thinking, oh, why me, or whatever, and we lose our patience. There can be the flip side of that, where we forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when things are on the up, because we think, I'm really doing well, my intelligence is exceptional, that business deal that I did was great, I'm fantastic, aren't I? My kids are great, because obviously I'm their father, my house is running fine because I've got it boxed off, my car's doing well because I made a good decision, so it's me. And then suddenly Allah SWT puts us in a difficult situation, and then it's Allah help me, Allah, if you get me out of this situation, I'll be a proper Muslim. You watch, there'll be no proper Muslim on the face of the earth than me. I'll be praying, 5 times a day. I'll be going Hajj twice in the year. I know it's not possible. I'll do Umrah. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll do this. Ya Allah, just take this musibat away from me, Ya Allah. As soon as the musibat goes, yes, I saw that out. I tell you, I was in this really difficult, with sick people around us. I was in this really difficult situation, and my brain just kind of switched on, and I got myself out of it. I'll tell you, I shock myself sometimes with my intellect. In fact, I'm so sharp and clever that sometimes, when I run my hand over my skin, I get little sort of, sharp pricks in my finger, because that's how sharp I am. Rubbish. So we can't have the flip side. But we have a situation, we have a reaction, either sabr or shukr. That's how it should be. And again, it's always about trust. وَمَا لَنَا أَلَّا نَتَوَكَّلْ وَمَا لَنَا, and it's why isn't it that we should أَلَّا نَتَوَكَّلَ, that we should put trust on Allah, upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَقَدْ هَدَانَا سُبُلْنَا, indeed He's guided us upon on our paths. وَلَنَصْبِرَنَّ عَلَى مَا آذَيْتُمُونَا, and we will stay patient without any shadow of doubt upon what you may cause us harm and pain. Why? Because وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُتَوَكِّلُونَ, because it's upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the people who put trust place their trust. And that's again sabr, tawakkul, sabr, tawakkul, sabr, tawakkul. You're hearing it again and again and again. It's got to be embedded somewhere. We got to see life through these the word which has gone out of my head. The screen, the vision, the lens of sabr and the lens of tawakkul. Always the lens of sabr and the lens of tawakkul. Lens of sabr and the lens of tawakkul. That's always you're looking at the world around you. It's easy, I said when things are right, you can do shukr. But the lens of sabr and the lens of tawakkul all the time. Talking about sabr, we have got there, mashallah, and we've got some to complete here now. قل لعبادي الذين آمنوا يقيموا الصلاة وينفقوا مما رزقناهم سرا وعلانية من قبل أن يأتي يوم لا بيع فيه ولا خلال. Say to my slaves, say to my truthful slaves, those who believe, that establish salah and give وينفقوا مما, and they give that which Allah has given to them secretly and openly. Do this, spend and give. Why should we be min qabli an ya'tiya yawmun, before the day comes in which there is no trade in it and there's no friendship. Use your assets now, use your opportunities now, because there will come a time where you will not be able to use it, and you can beg and you could do whatever you like, it will not be accepted. Allahu alladhi khalaqa as-samawati wal arda wa anzala min as-sama'i ma'an fa akhraja bihi min ath-thamarati rizqan lakum wa sakhkhara lakum al-fulka litajriya fil bahri bi amrihi wa sakhkhara lakum al-anhar. All these things Allah has done for you so that you may take benefit from them. وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمٌ, when Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam said, رَبِّ اجْعَلْ هَذَا الْبَلَدَ آمِنًا وَاجْنُبْنِي وَبَنِيَّ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ, make this land, make this city safe, and choose me and my children, save me rather, and my children, that we worship the idols. رَبِّ إِنَّهُنَّ أَضْلَلْنَا كَثِيرًا مِنَ النَّاسِ, for indeed these idols have fooled so many and deviated so many people. فَمَنْ تَبِعَنِي فَإِنَّهُ مِنِّي, and whoever follows me, then that person is from me. وَمَنْ أَصَانِي فَإِنَّكَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ, and those who disobey me, then Ya Allah, you are forgiving, you are merciful. So obviously implying forgive them and have mercy upon them. رَبَّنَا إِنِّي أَسْكَنْتُ مِنْ ذُرِّيَّتِي, O my Rabb, I have placed and settled my children, in my child, بِوَادٍ, in a valley, غَيْرِ ذِي زَرْعٍ, in which there is no crops, in the Baytik al-Muharram, near the blessed house, the sanctuary, yani al-Kaaba. رَبَّنَا, O my Rabb, while يُقِيمُ الصَّلَاةَ فَاجْعَلْ أَفْئِدَةً مِنَ النَّاسِ تَهْوِي إِلَيْهِمْ, make the hearts of the people have love towards them, وَارْزُقْهُمْ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ, and give them sustenance from the fruits, in order that they may be grateful. رَبَّنَا إِنَّكَ تَعْلَمُ مَا تُخْفِي وَمَا نُعْلِنُ, Ya Allah, you know what we what we conceal. Sorry, I'm seeing dots when there's no dots there. رَبَّنَا, and O our Rabb, إِنَّكَ, indeed you, تَعْلَمُ, know, مَا نُخْفِي, what we conceal, وَمَا نُعْلِنُ, and what we make upon. وَمَا يَخْفَى عَلَى اللَّهِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَا فِي السَّمَاءِ, and nothing could be hidden from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah alladhi wahaba li, and all praise be to that being who has bestowed upon me, alal kibr, in my old age, Ismail wa Ishaq. Inna Rabbi la sami'ud du'a, for indeed my Rabb is the listener to dua. Rabbi ij'alni, O Allah, and this people will know this one well. O Allah, make me muqim as-salah, the regular prayer of salah. Wa min dhurriyyati, and from my children. Rabbana, O my Rabb, wa taqabbal du'a, and accept this supplication. Rabbana ighfirli, O Allah, forgive me. Wa li walidayya, and my parents. Wa lil mu'minina, and the believers, yawma yaqumul hisab, on the day of resurrection. And here we have obviously a dua made, and many duas which Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam made, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the response and the answer to the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. So you can see the direct combination between the Muslims and Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. Why do we slaughter an animal on Udhiyah? Because we see the example in Ibrahim alayhi salam's life. Why do we do sa'i between Safa and Marwa? Because we see in the life of Ibrahim alayhi salam and his family. Why do we pelt the Jamarat? Because we see in the life of Ibrahim alayhi salam and his family. So many of the rites of Hajj are taken from Ibrahim alayhi salam and his family. So we have a direct link to Ibrahim alayhi salam. So we can claim Ibrahim alayhi salam as our prophet because we follow his practices. And our religion and the house in which Ibrahim alayhi salam was at was the Kaaba. And our religion, or the man who was given the Quran, was in response to the dua which Ibrahim alayhi salam had made. So we could just go on 5 minutes over, which is not bad, mashallah. So what I'll do slightly different today is that I won't finish the whole para, because we're going to leave one line of the next surah, and because similarly the next para as well is very much the same, because the surah actually starts at the beginning of the next para, and that will be on the Mi'raj, if I'm not mistaken. Where are we? Yeah, Subhanalladhi asra bi'ibadihi layla min al-masjid al-haram ila al-masjid al-aqsa. So what we'll do is we're just going to finish off these last few ayats, and we will leave it there inshaAllah ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala completes Surah Ibrahim by saying, Hada balaghun. This is a balagh, this is a proclamation linnas, for the people, waliyunadharu bihi, in order that people, they can be warned by it, waliya'lamu, and in order that they know annama, that indeed huwa ilahu wahid, that he is one God, there is no other God apart from him, وَلِيَذَّكَّرَ, and also to remind. And who will take this admonition? Will the clever people, will the foolish people, will the people who are concerned about the hereafter, the people who just want to chill out in this world, the people who want to live it large in this world? Who will take admonition? Then the people who will take admonition is ulul albab, the people of intellect. So on that point we will stop, and we will inshaAllah ta'ala tomorrow carry on from Surah Al-Hijr to get us onto the 14th para, and I hope you can join me again for that. والحمد لله رب العالمين أولا وآخرا. السلام عليكم.
ليلة القدر التي نزلت بها آيات تذكرة لذي الألباب، يا صائما للشهر محتسبا له، بشراك مغفرة بغير حساب، بشراك مغفرة بغير حساب.